Welcome to the deep dive where we, cut through the noise and try to get straight to the insights. Today, we're digging into something pretty interesting, actually. An organization that popped up in New York, calling itself the Workers' Rights Alliance.
Right.
And, well, right off the bat, that name sort of rang a bell, didn't it?
Yeah,
Because it's almost exactly the same as a known, very established group out in Washington State.
Yeah, and that similarity, as we'll get into, probably isn't just a coincidence. This whole deep dive, it's really about looking at how organizations present themselves versus what the public record, or maybe more importantly, the lack of a public record tells us. We're going to be looking at, the layers of credibility, transparency.
Or the lack thereof.
Exactly. Or the striking absence of them sometimes, especially when new groups pop up claiming to be advocates.
Absolutely. So our mission today is basically to pull back the curtain, see what our sources actually tell us about this New York group.
And what they don't tell us.
And what they don't tell us, which is often just as revealing, right? We want to explore why these details, which might seem small, are actually critical for anyone, really. Anyone in the labor community, anyone just watching these things.
It's about spotting the difference.
Yeah, spotting the difference between real advocacy and maybe something. Well, something else, something less substantial.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so our team started, pulling on this thread, the Workers' Rights Alliance in New York. And, well, it wasn't just loose ends. It felt more like the whole thing kind of unraveled, starting with that name, just a bit too familiar.
Right.
So this New York group, they've got like a website, pretty bare bones it looks like, and a LinkedIn page.
Okay.
But the kicker, like I said, is the name, Workers' Rights Alliance. Almost identical to the Worker Rights Alliance, singular worker in Washington State.
And that Washington group is the real deal.
Totally. A legitimate, nonpartisan nonprofit. Everyone knows them for their work on workplace freedom, accountability. They've got a track record, real people involved, clear mission.
And what's fascinating here, I mean, it's really a significant red flag, is just how similar the names are.
Yeah.
It's not just close, it's practically the same. And, in the advocacy world, that kind of resemblance is usually not accidental.
You think it's deliberate?
Well, it can be a deliberate strategy, kind of designed to maybe borrow credibility, or at least leverage the reputation of a group that's already established and respected.
Piggybacking?
Sort of. It plays on that quick glance, You see a familiar-sounding name, assume it's legit.
Okay.
It definitely means we need to look closer. Much closer.
It certainly does. And that closer look, like you said, it leads straight to some really basic questions.
Yeah.
Like, where's the paperwork?
Fundamentals.
Right. So we started looking for official records, basic stuff, and we hit a wall pretty much immediately.
Okay.
We searched the IRS database for tax-exempt organizations, standard procedure, and nothing. No listing for a nonprofit called Workers' Rights Alliance in New York, zero.
And that's just the IRS. We didn't stop there, did we?
Nope.
We also checked with New York State itself, the Department of State, the Attorney General's Charities Bureau.
The places you have to be listed.
Exactly. If you're a legit nonprofit operating in New York, you must be in these registries. It's about transparency, accountability.
It's still nothing.
Still nothing. No record of this Workers' Rights Alliance anywhere. And look, these aren't just like minor slip-ups.
Right.
This is foundational. For any group claiming to be a nonprofit, especially one advocating for people, being registered with the IRS, with the state, that's step one. It's the bedrock.
So without it?
Without it, you're looking at a group that hasn't met the most basic legal and regulatory requirements, which is, frankly, a huge red flag for anyone claiming to work in the public interest.
Okay, so the official records. A big blank space.
Pretty much.
But, nowadays the online footprint often tells a story, too.
Oh, definitely.
And here, well, it wasn't just blank. It felt almost deliberately fuzzy, obscured. Well, their website, workersrightsalliance.com, it's barely more than a landing page, honestly. Just a few blog posts. And get this, they're all written by someone called Scott 34892.
Not exactly a household name.
Right, like totally anonymous, no name, no bio, no contact info for this Scott. And then the get involved section, where you'd expect calls to action, sign-up forms, placeholder text, like lorem ipsum stuff, or content coming soon. It just screams unfinished. No, maybe.
Yeah, not serious. Wow. Yeah, that's telling. When you see a digital presence that's so thin, right, so lacking in real content or professional details, it often fits a pattern we see with, let's say, less credible outfits. A real advocacy group usually puts effort into their website. Clear mission, programs, impact reports, real story.
An About Us page with actual people.
Exactly. Specific initiatives, ways to actually get involved, anonymous blogs, generic mission statements, broken links.
Placeholder text.
Placeholder text. It's like putting up a closed for renovation sign on a shop that claims to be open and eager for customers. It just raises serious doubts about commitment, resources, legitimacy, really.
It doesn't look like a group ready to actually do anything.
Not at all.
And speaking of legitimacy, that brings us to another huge missing piece. Who's actually running this thing?
The leadership question. Always crucial.
Right. Like legitimate nonprofits, they tell you who's on the board, who the key staff are. There's contact info. Here.
Let me guess.
Nothing. No board members listed, no staff names, no contact details beyond that link to the equally thin LinkedIn profile. It's just empty. A total leadership vacuum.
And that just raises such a critical question, doesn't it? How can you advocate for anyone, let alone workers' rights, without anyone identifiable leading the charge?
It seems impossible.
Well, disclosed leadership is just vital for trust, for accountability. If you don't know who's making decisions, who's responsible for the money, for the actions, how can you possibly trust them?
You can't.
Right. You can't assess their integrity, their motives, even if they can actually do what they claim. Without names, there's no accountability. Trust is everything in advocacy, and anonymity, it just destroys it, leaves everyone guessing.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got no verifiable legal status, no IRS, no state registration.
Check.
We've got a super opaque, underdeveloped website with anonymous content and placeholder text.
Sure.
Zero information on who's actually in charge.
Check.
And all of this wrapped up in a name that's confusingly similar to a well-respected, legitimate organization.
Right.
When you put all those pieces together, it just screams, something's not right here.
Yeah.
It raises huge questions about what this group is really about.
It absolutely does. And that lack of transparency, it's probably not just sloppy paperwork, is it?
Doesn't feel like it.
No. If you connect the dots, look at the bigger picture, the combined weight of all these things. It strongly suggests this might not be a real worker advocacy group at all.
So what then? A front?
It could very well be, yes. A front for other interests. Interests with motives that are much less transparent and maybe even harmful.
Like what kind of motives?
Well, think about it. It's not always just about, like, tricking people out of donations, though that's possible.
Okay.
Sometimes these outfits are set up to influence policy without revealing who's really pulling the strings. Or maybe to collect data on people who inquire or try to get involved.
Data harvesting.
Could be. Or even gathering intel on legitimate unions or businesses, maybe generating fake grassroots support for something, or even acting as a vehicle to send vaguely threatening legal letters or take actions that benefit some hidden third party.
Wow. That sounds complicated.
It can be, and what makes this particularly concerning now is the context. We've seen recent ICO litigation.
Right, like racketeering.
Exactly. The Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. It's a serious federal law originally for organized crime. The fact that ISO cases are popping up involving groups pretending to be advocacy organizations tells you something. These cases are exposing networks, sometimes quite sophisticated ones. Bad actors. People trying to cloak themselves in the language of worker protection or public interest to seem legit.
Why?
Maybe to undermine real unions. Sow confusion. Provide cover for union busting. Things like that.
Okay.
And just to be clear, we're not saying that's definitely happening here. But these observations, they're based purely on the facts we do have, or rather the facts that are missing. The lack of registration, the anonymity.
Yeah.
It fits certain known patterns of deception.
That's a really important distinction. It's about what they aren't doing as much as what they are.
Precisely.
But let me just play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go ahead.
Couldn't a brand new group, like a totally genuine grassroots effort, just be new?
Yeah.
You know, still getting its ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Maybe they just haven't filed all the paperwork yet or built the fancy website.
That's a fair question, a really important one. And yes, new groups start somewhere. However, even brand new, legitimate groups usually prioritize some basics early on. They know they need to be identifiable to build trust and operate legally.
So, like, incorporation papers, at least.
Exactly. Maybe they don't have the fancy IRS 501c status on day one. That takes time. But they'd likely be incorporated. They'd have a contact person, probably a founder whose name is attached. The scale of what's missing here, Literally no trace in any key registry. Total anonymity online that suggests something more than just being new. It feels more like an active avoidance of transparency.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
So if this group, this Workers' Rights Alliance in New York, is actually legitimate,
If they are.
the path to proving it is pretty clear.
Oh, absolutely. It's straightforward.
They could, what, publish their incorporation documents? Show everyone they legally exist?
Yep, that's step one.
Disclose their IRS determination letter, if they have one? Or at least their EIN, their employer identification number?
Standard practice. It proves they're registered with the IRS.
Name their board, name their staff, give a real physical address.
Crucial for accountability.
And just be clear, what's their actual mission?
Yeah.
Where does the funding come from? How are they governed?
These aren't unreasonable demands. They are standard, non-negotiable basics for any legitimate nonprofit.
Right.
Because transparency, really, it's not just nice to have. It's the cornerstone of ethical advocacy. Without it, trust just vanishes.
Yeah.
Credibility collapses. It's fundamental to proving you operate with integrity and for the cause you claim to support.
So given all these missing pieces, these red flags, who really needs to be careful here?
Well, several groups, I'd say. Obviously, stakeholders in the labor community itself. The name targets them directly.
Made sense.
But also, think about the insurance community, risk managers, anyone involved in workplace issues.
Why them specifically?
Because they all have a vested interest in knowing who's genuinely operating in this space. Engaging with an entity that isn't registered, that's totally opaque, that carries real risks. Legal risks, reputational risks, even financial ones.
Got it. So due diligence is key.
Absolutely. This whole situation just highlights how important critical thinking is. You have to investigate when you encounter a new organization, especially one making big claims.
Don't just take the name at face value.
Never. The lack of transparency has real-world consequences. It can affect labor relations, regulatory compliance, a lot of things. Always check the receipts, basically. Verify the substance behind the shiny name.
And that really sums it up, doesn't it? That's the core lesson from this deep dive.
I think so.
Look past the surface. Verify the substance, the legal standing. Especially when a group claims to be fighting for something important like workers' rights. The name on the door isn't the whole story.
Not by a long shot. You know, in this world just flooded with information, new groups popping up constantly, figuring out who's real and who's just an imitation, that takes active investigation. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. When a new group or initiative comes across your radar, what are the first few questions you ask? What sources do you actually check to gauge if they're credible?
What's your personal checklist for transparency?
Exactly. Something to think about.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
A great question to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.